Hello everyone once again. Yes, we're out, got some more Reggie because I like his crazy videos of, well, him doing Total Warhammer 3. So, yeah. He's running another mod. I could see that from the I'm trying to keep it PG at least for now for the first minute. I'm dying. Don't ignore me. Ignore me dying. Anyway. What I was gonna say is, how many crazy mods are there like this? Because I saw this weird fishman that I was pretty sure is not from any part of the game I've seen. Unless they add this, and I could be completely wrong. It's possible I could be completely wrong about all this. But on another note, let's get into this and see where the heck Remy is going. Why'd I say Remy? Reggie, where Reggie is going. Ugh, sorry everyone. It's very hot. It's very hot, especially when I turn my AC off and, yeah. Especially in a building. Anyway, we're going to head into this and see where it goes.
Being a god has never been so disgusting because today in Total Warhammer 3 we will be using arcane magic, careful diplomacy, and eldritch abominations to subjugate the world and ascend to godliness. Standing in our way are hordes of beastmen, undead armies, and of course,
you know what? Give me 1 second.
Communists.
Give me 1 second,
one
Fable.
of these enemies we conquer
Fable, everyone. I was about to say I'm gonna send this to Fable. Because he likes really gross stuff. Like, he likes really gross monsters. It's why he likes Crusade, at least with the Hell Armies. I don't really like them. And I'm horrified by this creature I'm saying for him. Anyway.
Commander grows in size and strength
until
he becomes a literal god. Can we spread our cult across the world, or will every
an interesting
crisis
mod
on max difficulty stop us in our tracks? There's only one way to find out.
This is
we
start
really
our
campaign at the Monument of the Moon and are immediately presented with a difficult decision. Do we want to develop caste-based slavery or experiment with blood sacrifices? I won't lie, my psychosexual need to dominate the poor is very strong, but my compulsion to draw with their blood is even
It looks so
stronger.
cool!
After that, I began examining our military. We're equipped
no,
with
wait,
several
I think I know what that
monsters,
is.
A goblin shaman that looks suspiciously
It
like
reminds me
Gilbert
of a...
Gottfried, and our commander, a giant octopus named Kroll. I try not to look at him too much because those tentacles make me act up. Right now, he's just a big fat idiot that gets bullied by enemy archers. But for every capital city we capture, we can construct a Temple of Kroll, which increases his weapon damage, armor, and mass by 5%. Our goal? Construct 20 temples so that we can ascend from trifling god to divine entity. First, we have to kill our neighbors. This was when I understood just how large Kroll was, because he looks like this on the auto-resolve. The beastmen did their best, but after buffing Kroll with sneaky stabbing, he absolutely gutted their army.
Does he just have modded units for this, or does he have his own originally designed units? Because I think I know where that weird lizard man is from. I think he was in when I was playing the my Norska campaign. What else does he have?
It's at this point
I'm really curious now. I had to stop.
Faction because I can take my enemies as slaves and sacrifice them before each battle to increase the potency of my magic spells. More on that later. With the beastmen currently locked in my basement, I have to choose my next victim. In an effort to quickly monopolize the color green, I decide to start with the orcs. Unfortunately, all of their cities follow some Latin American naming system, which makes them very hard for me to pronounce. This causes me to vibrate with rage, but it doesn't stop me from auto-resolving
I have trouble
existence. In fact, it helped a lot. At this point, I was getting in character as some kind of settlement name auditor, punishing factions with pretentious or unimaginative naming systems, which led me directly to a town in the swamp named Swamp Town. Seriously, guys? I decided to penalize this faction by hiring a group of ogres to beat them to death with mallets. With Swamp Town under new management, we now have regional stability and we can begin developing our economic infrastructure. However, that would be a massive mistake, because when you you are playing a lord that looks like this, you are definitely not an economic faction. To put it simply,
I need to engage in homicidal behavior on a massive scale.
So quickly resuming the wanton slaughter of innocent people, I recruit a second general and launch a preemptive strike against Lord Mazdamundi at Port Reaver. Taking the settlement was quite easy, but surviving what came next was an entirely different matter. Because on the next turn, Mazdamundi descended on Port Reaver with all 1,200 pounds of his body positivity and began massacring thousands of innocent boglars. However, I have confirmed with top scientists that boglars are in fact not real people. They don't have rights, and we don't have...
They're modified goblins, obviously. I'm sorry I'm stopping so much, but I just want to say, yes, the Lizard Man faction is my favorite faction to play as.
To care when they die, so no big deal. But it was a big deal on the next turn when Mazdamundi came down to Swamp Town and kicked the shit out of me. Suffering this many defeats so early in the campaign made me seriously consider ending it all. However, I quickly realized that my hatred for the lizards is marginally greater than my hatred for myself, and so I fought on. If you're ever in this situation, I'll tell you exactly how to win. Simply challenge your enemy to a rematch, sacrifice 400 innocent people to supercharge your spells, then spend the entire battle abusing Spirit Leech to kill all of their commanders. Don't tell anyone you did that shit, though. They'll make fun of you and call you gay. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. Anyway, this marked a turning point in the war, because, simply put, everyone on the other side was dead. By the time we got to their capital city, they did have an army, but we quickly drowned them in a sea of boglar corpses. And I guess we also literally drowned them with these tidal waves. With the lizards now relegated to the fossil record, we have to plan our next move. I looked to the south and found opium farmers, and in the north, manic sex criminals. I don't know if you've ever met a dark elf, but canonically, they smell like cigarettes and boiled piss, so I try to avoid them at all costs. I started the war against Cathay by ambushing them at the floating pyramid and capturing several of their cities. They sent their finest dumpling salesmen to stop me, but failed every time. Probably because I just unlocked this new artillery unit and it fires literal laser beams. Not too bad. Eventually, Cathay unified their forces with Marcus Wolfhard and fought me at the Monument of Izatal. This was the exact point in the campaign where I realized Kroll is absolutely broken, because I now have tier 2 magic plus 100% spell intensity from sacrifices and another 45% from this item. You want to see what that looks like? Look at these spearmen. Now they're gone. That wasn't sped up. 1,500 people just died in 3 seconds. Now casting the big spells might seem like the way to go, but I've discovered a more effective method, because after defeating Yonbo in combat, I gained a trait which reduces the cost of all of my spells by 20%. This makes my tidal wave cost almost nothing. However, because of the slave sacrifices, it's strong enough to wipe out entire squads of archers in one shot. And to add insult to injury, Kroll has the Brood Mother ability, which causes him to summon a miniature kraken whenever he kills enemy units. I'm sure you can imagine just how quickly this got out of hand. I use this one weird trick to accumulate 1,200 kills on Kroll in a single battle. I had this whole army thing wrong. I saw Kroll and thought, disgusting swamp monster for melee combat. But really, he is one of the most well-educated and gifted mages of all time.
He's a powerful
mage. This probably goes without saying, but we won that battle pretty easily. By this point, the Chinese are finished, Marcus is homeless, and if you're an 8-limbed monstrosity, things are going pretty good. We now have 4 capital cities with 2 temples, and more being built every turn. I can taste godhood, and it tastes like dead Bretonians. It's at this point you're probably wondering, Reggie, do you actually have a plan, or are you going to just keep killing people? To which I reply, that is the plan. That's always been the plan, in every single video. In my effort to accumulate as many capital cities as possible, I began physically annihilating the Brets. Sure, they have good cavalry, because their knights are so well trained that they're practically one with their horse. However, my cavalry are literally one with their horse, because I have used dark magic to anatomically fuse them together. Imagine this, you're a French peasant. The only things you know are be stinky and die from shitting yourself. Then imagine seeing these ungodly abominations cresting the hill. It's fair to say that you are unprepared for what's about to happen, as was Alberic. In fact, at one point, I ended my turn in march stance beside 2 full Bretonian stacks, because I fundamentally do not respect them. All in all, we had their entire empire wiped out within 10 turns. It was at this point I realized Yonbo is actually still alive. I just stole all of his territory, and since then, he's been camping outside my settlements, like a homeless vagrant who steals my recyclables just to survive. After 10 turns of this, he worked up the courage to bonsai charge a nearby nearby
Why?
settlement by himself. What an asshole. Anyway, I gotta say, he really went for it. It's almost like he didn't have a choice. Maybe he was drafted or even enlisted. The sponsor of today's video.
I have played
is a
Enlisted.
First-person shooter that offers a mixture
I can talk a
of
bit
PvP
about this,
and
but
PvE
I had
combat.
some fun
Lead a
with it,
squad
but
of customizable AI
I
soldiers
have
and
messed with
participate
people
in
quite a
massive
bit by
battles
using
with
the
other
tank.
players. Enjoy multiple weapons, vehicles, and campaigns
But it is
ranging from the
very,
invasion
very,
of Normandy to the Battle of Moscow. The combat is
pay
very
heavy.
realistic. For example, I
You
can
have to buy
obliterate
guns
your
for
rib
individual
cage
soldiers.
with a shotgun without having to worry about you surviving. Speaking of
And
realism,
getting the stuff
graphics
is
are
very,
so
very
good I can
hard.
practically taste the
You know, getting
exhaust
it
coming out of
free.
this tank. My personal favorite feature is the NIO-5 impact mine. It looks like an anti-tank mine at the end of a short stick, because it is. But that's
Yeah,
not going to
that's
stop
basically
me
what
from
it is.
running across an open field and plunging it into the side of a tank before being atomized in the subsequent explosion. Follow the link below to play Enlisted for free on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation.
I wonder if people
Now
still
back to the
play
video.
that.
While this was happening, we were having some issues with a tribe of lizard men led by Gorok. You see, he's an
Gorok.
unhinged sociopath on a suicide mission to make you uninstall the game. I can say that confidently because he absolutely devastated Kroll in a head-to-head battle. And
Wow.
after I tried to finish him off with a second army, he laughed at me, spit in my mouth, and beat me mercilessly. My
God
greatest
damn.
victory against him came on the third attempt, where I managed to kill everyone in his army before he single-handedly beat all of my remaining soldiers to death. I genuinely believed I could defeat Gorok.
But it turned out I was, in fact, a soy boy. I was a low-T cuck.
I want you to, no, I need you to understand that the only way to kill Gorok is by accepting a Pyrrhic victory auto-resolve. I don't care how much it costs, it's worth it. I did this myself, and with Gorok out of the picture, we quickly steamrolled his empire, just in time for a...
Funny enough, he's the one lizard man I don't think I played it. The one lizard man lord I don't think I played as. I still need to do Lizard Moses and him, don't I? That's going to take some time out of my days, but hey! It's a fun game, and I love playing it. I have fun with RTS, as you can probably tell. But God, the lizard men really are just devastating him when they get the chance. Unless he uses his very, very cheap powers.
a bioterrorist to declare war on us. The Skaven decided to take the fight to us, which is really unfortunate for them, because we've just upgraded our cavalry to this. What is it and where is its lower jaw? I don't know, but I do know that its anatomical abnormality makes it ideal for some kind of settlement name auditor, punishing factions with pretentious or
apparently pressing
the picture. We quickly...
I don't know what happened there. I am so sorry for that.
We're going to lose, but what it's not accounting for is my strategic unpredictability. In fact, even I don't events. Compared to the rest of the world, we got off pretty lucky, but we do still have to deal with a vermin tide.
Oh, the vermin tide.
Team up with a demented pirate to destroy their...
Why? I don't know why YouTube's being such annoying for me for when I watch Reggie's videos. Maybe it has a thing against Reggie. I don't know.
Siege battle. Lose a siege battle because you didn't see the rats on the south wall and now you don't have any control point. I don't know, but I do know that its anatomical abnormality makes it ideal for swallowing rats without chewing. The war with Lord Skrull lasted about 15 turns, and it went something like this. Get attacked by rats, kill literal millions of them, realize you're still outnumbered,
there's always more.
Somehow win anyway. Siege battle. Lose a siege battle because you didn't see the rats on the south wall, and now you don't have any control points. Increase your blood pressure in frustration. Retaliate with tremendous violence. Get ambushed again and again and again. Get so angry that you black out, wake up on the defeat screen, and scream into the void. Start winning battles by using magic. Don't have mercy. Team up with a demented pirate to destroy their capital cities, and eventually the war is over. Well, sort of. You see, it's turn 90, and the endgame event just triggered all of the endgame events.
All of them?
Compared to the rest of the world, we got off pretty lucky, but we do still have to deal with a vermin tide, which means Skrulk is back, and he brought 3 of his finest ball washers to cause trouble. We had to fight them time using just Kroll and an army of swamp demons. The game thinks we're going to lose, but what it's not accounting for is my strategic unpredictability. In fact, even I don't know what I'm going to do on a second-by-second basis. But I started by casting a lot of spells, and it was going very well. Honestly, I wish I could take credit for this, but there were so many rats I could probably be doing this blindfolded and killing just as many. Rampaging octopi crashed through their front line. Tsunamis obliterated their slingers, and
this isn't very normal for Skaven to just lose thousands of troops.
All in all, we won the battle, and Kroll came out with over 1,000 kills.
Good
At this
lord.
point, we're only a renegade god with 7 temples constructed, so we still have a lot of work to do. Now I could just be a loser and play this safe, but instead I decided to sail my armies across the ocean and fight the strongest faction on the map, the Tomb Kings. We came ashore on their borders and quickly realized how bad of a decision this was, because every settlement here is totally uninhabitable. I pretended not to be bothered by this, because that seems like the kind of thing a god would do, but in reality it made building and recruiting troops very challenging. Apart from that, the war with Khemri was going quite well. All of their armies were tied up in the east fighting with the dwarves and Tzeentch, so they were woefully unprepared when we showed up and started trashing the place. Part of the issue for them was that I was shamelessly abusing these guys right here. The Balefire Apprentice is a magical ranged unit, and I figured out that by making an entire army out of them, I can absolutely melt just about everything on the Tomb King roster. Even better still is that each one of them has access to Spirit Leech. This spell by itself can drain enemy lords pretty effectively, but since I have 15 apprentices, I can cast 15 instances of it at the same time.
At the same time?
I've sacrificed slaves to double the potency, so we've effectively cast 30 Spirit Leeches on this poor skeleton.
Good lord, man!
It's been liquefied within 5 seconds. I'm not proud to say it, but this tactic won us a lot of territory in the desert. It's now turn 108, and things are going very well. We have 11 temples, almost 10,000 slaves, a good chunk of North Africa, and we just unlocked a massive buff for our Balefire apprentices. However, this would soon change, because after I pressed the next turn button, every AI on the map entered into some kind of satanic pact to ruin my life. Khemri started pushing aggressively from the east. Then Ikit Claw started attacking us from the north. Following this, some Dark Elves decide they want to harvest my organs in Lustria. Meanwhile, some Wood Elves put us on a stretching rack ass first. And finally, gangs of Chaos Dwarves used a cartoon drilling machine to pop up randomly across Lustria and begin shooting us to death. So basically, we're in a war on 5 fronts. And no.
Good lord. I don't think he's gonna win this part. He might, because he's Reggie and he comes up with some crazy plans. On another note, well, can someone in the comments tell me what that crazy device the Chaos Dwarves just showed? I am actually curious. I do love learning Warhammer fantasy lore, and the Chaos Dwarves are a particular blind spot for me.
It's not going well. We were losing about 4 battles per turn. In moments like these, all you can do is put on a strong face, because it's not gay to be pounded by 5 men unless you moan. However, the fight that really broke me was this one against Ikit. The auto-battler said it was a close defeat, so I thought I could win. I load the map and it seems normal. Then I go cry on the toilet for 25 minutes. For some reason, while I'm away, the map begins to change. The sand is getting marginally brighter by the second. By the time I return, it looks like this. The entire map is covered in some kind of oversaturated glow that makes it virtually impossible for me to see what the fuck is going on. If it wasn't for the health bars, I wouldn't even know where my units were, let alone that they're currently being shot with Gatling guns. I tried my best to win this fight, but attempting to identify enemy units under these conditions proved remarkably difficult. Oh, you thought you sent your swordsmen to go fight some archers. Well, bad news. That's actually a giant mutated rat man, and everyone is dead.
Rat ogre.
This is it. Rock bottom. I knew there was only one way to get out of this, and it's going to cost me a lot of money. We have access to a unit called a Demonomaniac. It's very good at killing, everything. So against the advice of my financial advisor, I went ahead and built a doom stack with 10 of these fine young men. And let me tell you, as far as antidepressants go, this is the best I've ever had. I unlocked 20% ward save for them, and spent the next 15 turns on Cloud 9, absolutely obliterating my way through the Tomb King Empire. All of my
Good
other armies
Lord.
were dedicated to holding my borders while Kroll systematically disassembled the strongest faction in the game. Don't worry, I
Oh my
didn't kill them. I
God.
left them alive just enough to appreciate how gimped their faction has become. With the Tomb Kings in a medically induced coma, our situation is still complicated, but a lot more
took out the
manageable.
Tomb Kings.
Naturally, our finances are still stretched thin, and the Wood Elves are becoming a big problem. You see, every man has a single thread of insanity woven into the very fabric of their being. The Wood Elves are made exclusively from these threads, and as such, they've been on a murderous rampage in the north. I've been slowing them down by sacrificing millions of Boglars, but this is not a long-term solution. Luckily, we were able to erect several temples of Kroll in the desert, and we're quickly closing in on godhood. There's just one more thing we need, and it's sitting all the way in Ulthuan. I had Kroll take to the seas and make his way there. Sitting patiently in this castle is a weapon of immeasurable power.
Oh, the Sword of
by a
Cain.
demon named Enkari. We're actually pretty good friends, but not for long, because I'm going to kill him and claim the Sword of Cain. I started the battle, and on paper, we're definitely the underdog. But what the game forgot to consider is this.
Dear God, it feels like something the Doomslayer or Guts would kill. That's what it looks like.
Hordes of sexed-up freaks charged across the field towards us, but my demonomaniacs were having absolutely none of it. Honestly, it was very enjoyable, and not just because there were thousands of muscular men whipping me, but because I started using this spell. Yeah, that's pretty nasty, even for Slaanesh. Enkari was quite tough, and he was even able to overpower my demonomaniacs, but as it turns out, he is remarkably susceptible to level 1 magic such as Spirit Leech. We finished up the battle with hardly any damage taken, sacked the settlement for 19,000 gold, and claimed the Sword of Cain. This gives Kroll 25 melee attack, 450 armor piercing, 20% ward save, and a vortex ability that just ruins everyone's day.
I
With
wish
this
I
weapon,
had gotten
felt
that
like
when
a
I had
new
the
man,
chance.
like nothing could stop me. So the first thing I did was sail across the ocean and kick the shit out of Ikit Claw before burning his capital city to the ground and Fortnite dancing on the ashes. Oh yes,
take him out.
This feels very good. While this was going on, I had some luck in my war against the Dark Elves. Finding them out of position, I was able to take several key settlements and cripple their empire. Their destruction was the final piece to this whole puzzle, because we're at 18 temples, and after capturing their settlements and doing some construction, it pushed us to 20. Level 50 Kroll with the Sword of Cain is now a god of the depths. With 135 armor, the largest mass of any lord in the game, between 1400 and 2500 weapon strength, plenty of regeneration, overpowered spells, and 15,000 health. Considering he also has 90% damage reduction, that means you'd need to deal about 150,000 damage just to kill him. On paper, we are a god, but it's time to prove it. I brought Kroll back to Lustria and emptied out his army. Everyone else is going north to push back the Wood Elves, but Kroll is going to stuff himself into this drilling machine and travel all the way across the map to finish off the Chaos Dwarves by himself. I came through the portal, and before me were several dwarven armies, a few settlements, and their capital city Zar-Negrund. This is basically their equivalent of Mecca, and if we can destroy it, well, they probably wouldn't like that very much. I started the campaign by castrating Gorazin the Breaker and 700 of his men. Apparently, this was a heroic deed. That was easy. On to the next battle. This was where it got interesting.
I mean, no one likes the Chaos Dwarves.
Versus 5,000 Chaos Dwarves. I drove him straight into the crowd and popped all of his spells while screaming at the top of my lungs. They had about 10 units of archers firing flaming arrows into the side of Kroll for 15 minutes
and he doesn't
straight,
care.
but they couldn't get past his regeneration. The Sword of Cain, Kraken's Pull, and Purple Sun tore through the blobs of conscript soldiers, and eventually I had generated enough power to use this ability. It summons a gang of feral bog beasts that began cleaning out the enemy back line. Wave after wave of dwarves shuffled onto the battlefield, only to be added to the collage of dead bodies that surround Kroll. In moments like these, you might feel bad for the short kings, but in this judgmental and materialistic world, it's not enough to be tall. You have to actively be anti-short. So I did what I had to do and murdered 5,000 dwarves with my bare hands. After cleaning up a few more battles and crashing the game, I had made my way to Zar-Negrund. These rat bastards have been popping up in my territory like post-apocalyptic Mormons for the past 35 turns, and I'm finally going to put an end to it. They didn't make it easy for me though. Kroll charged towards the front.
What did you mean by that, Reggie? Oh, I don't know what he meant by that. And I do know, the one thing I do know about the Chaos Dwarves is that their designs are based off of ancient Mesopotamia, but other than that, nothing.
Gate and absorbed about 15,000
Kroll is unstoppable.
After
now.
breaking through, it wasn't much better. We had to
He
battle
is a god
our
on
way
the
past
battlefield.
centaur demons, flame warriors, and lots of incels, all while being blasted with heavy ordnance. Although, at some points, the artillery was actually working in our favor. You fire cluster bombs at me. I take 10% damage. Everyone else, they're dead. Not for nothing, this was the first battle where they actually made me hit the regen cap. So hypothetically, they could have killed me if they had more units. But they didn't. And once I was done smashing them into a dwarf puree, I forced their commanders to land, at which point Kroll smacked them for 50% of their health with each gyration of his grotesque body. After 12 minutes, it was all over, and we had emerged victorious. Friedrich Nietzsche famously proclaimed, "God is dead." But he had syphilis in his brain, so what the fuck does he know? God is alive and well, and he's covered in the blood of short men. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Finally, thank you to Enlisted for sponsoring the video. Changing history so that Japan wins the war is a lot of hard work, and I need your help. Play for free on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Oh, Reggie.
Use my link below to get plenty of free stuff.
Well then. That was interesting, to say the very least. Also, I am glad some of you like the model, this new model. It's put a lot of hard work into it from the artist and the rigger. So, I'll say all this. If you guys want to tell me anything about the Chaos Dwarves, I would love to know about them. Also, on another note, were those all just original units made for that mod? How many mods are like that? How crazy do the mods get? I've just played the base game. I have some of the DLC, but I just play the base game. I haven't even looked into mods for Total Warhammer. I don't know what else to say. Reggie worries me at times. But still, I just want to say thank you all so much for coming by. If you do like me reacting to this stuff, check out some of my friends down below. Check out Fable. He likes Transformers. He likes giant robots just like me. And check out Chrono Stuff, where if you like horror, he likes FNAF a lot. He watches a lot of FNAF videos. Anyway, thank you all so much, and I'll see you all there. Bye-bye, and take care of yourselves.